Welcome, Abnormal Investigations. Good to see everybody. If you missed the celebration for Sarah's birthday, go over check it out on Wide Open Adventures and subscribe and join us over there. We had a really good live tonight, and it was a really good show. We got to celebrate Sarah's birthday. I have an encounter for you guys. I think you're going to really enjoy this one. Let's get into it. I'm not going to give a ton of tiny details to save time, but this is my story. I've grown up all over America. My family has moved a ton. This story happened in Kentucky. I'm not sure if this falls under paranormal or not because I don't really understand what happened. My immediate family is big. There are 10 of us. This means that we need a big house. Otherwise, we all get cramped and all that. Since we've moved around a lot, we've lived in over 15 houses in my lifetime. When we moved to Kentucky, we needed a larger house because my parents had just had kid number 8. We house hunted for a long time, but eventually settled on a really cool one, on some land. There was about 4 acres of land and a pretty large log cabin. It had 3 stories, base floor, basement, and upstairs. And it was really old. My family rooms were upstairs, and mine was on the middle floor right beside the kitchen. Some nights my dad would come home really late, past 11. He worked about an hour away from our house because we lived a good deal away from anything. We were in the woods a bit. This meant that throughout the day my siblings and I would run the forest. We would climb trees, play in the creeks, and make up stories about the land. I would tell them that my sisters and I would tell them scary stories to scare them, and we all would have fun. That's just what you do as a 14-year-old boy. You scare your siblings. I remember the night it happened. Both my parents and my older siblings were gone. I was the oldest at home. I was 14 and babysitting 4 of the kids. The house was big, and they were upstairs somewhere playing with Legos. I was in the kitchen doing homework. It was around 9:30 at night in the mid-fall, so it was really dark. And since we were in the woods, there wasn't any light pollution. It gets really dark out there. I was minding my own business, working on a paper. My dog Bear was at my feet under the table. He's a Great Pyrenees. They're bred to kill coyotes and protect livestock, so I'm not really scared of anything when he's around. He's the most loyal dog, and not much really upsets him. He never barks at things. He's a really well-behaved dog. Well, he didn't bark at things often until that night. We had a back patio that connected to our hallway. It was kind of our back door. It led outside to our garden and the chickens and the rabbits. The patio was made of old wood and creaked when you walked across it, so I would always know if someone was coming to the door. I was sitting at the table when I heard the back door knob jiggle. It was loose, and it was half broken, so if someone opened the door, it would wobble in place. It needed to be fixed, but I'm so happy it was broken, otherwise I might not have heard it trying to come in. Immediately, Bear started growling. I was confused because I hadn't heard anyone on the creaky old patio. The night went quiet. I held my breath so I could hear better. I'm not a big kid, and I definitely wasn't then, but I kind of knew how to fight. My friends were scared to wrestle me because I usually won. I probably should have been terrified, but I had Bear, and I was slightly cocky. As I held my breath, I heard the doorknob jiggle again. I had that cold feeling when something feels wrong. I'm not sure if I could call it the hair stand up on the back of your neck thing because it wasn't really that. It was more of a something feels off feeling. Bear growled so low. I had not heard him growl that deep before, so I knew something was wrong. I stood up from the table and I walked to my bedroom slowly, so I wouldn't startle Bear any more than I already was. I also didn't want to alarm the kids upstairs playing. My siblings are easily spooked. I grabbed the wooden bat that was in there, and I started walking to the back door. I have no clue what I thought I was going to do, but probably something to the effect of opening the door, asking the burglar what he was doing, and then me and my dog would beat him up. That was the thought process of a 14-year-old. However, whenever I got to the back door, it was quiet again. I was about to go back to my school when the doorknob rattled like someone had put their hand on the other side. I gripped the doorknob, twisted it, and jerked the door wide open as hard as I could, brandishing the wooden bat and standing next to my dog. There was nothing there. I know what you listeners are thinking. Probably the wind. And that's what I said too. I told Bear to go lay down and I walked back to the kitchen to do my school. It was quiet for about the next 15 minutes. I was on edge though. I wanted my parents and older siblings home. Bear kept on quietly growling, sniffing the air though. That's when I thought I heard the creaky floorboards on the patio. I wasn't going to check though. Nothing had been there before, so why would something be there now? Bear, however, wanted to go check. He jumped up, barking and snarling, and ran to the back door. I yelled at him to stop because he was freaking me out, but he kept going. I got up and dragged him back to the kitchen. I didn't want to be alone anymore. I was honestly freaked out. That's when he went silent. He cocked his head like he was listening, and I could still hear my siblings playing with the Legos upstairs. And I was happy they weren't coming and asking what was wrong. I didn't want to scare them, especially since my parents were gone. You know the feeling you get when your heart is pounding so loud you can kind of hear it in your ears? That's what I was feeling. I was standing completely still and just waiting to hear something else. That's when I heard a stick break. Yes, it was the kitchen. Indoors, but I heard it. It sounded like a branch cracking. Keep in mind, this house was in the woods a bit, so there were tons of places that it could be coming from outside another door in the kitchen. That door leads to a really tall balcony. It overlooks two of our fields, and you can see our two sheds from up there. In the dark, you can't see much, but we have a single light on the large blue shed, and through the trees you can see it pretty well. It dimly lights the area around it, but of course that doesn't count for much unless you're right over by the shed. Anyway, I hear the stick or the branch break. At this point, I'm kind of fed up with this thing. It's kind of like, okay, can this just be over, or at least let me see whatever is going on? I'm weirded out, tired, and I'm kind of angry. I knew my assignment was going to be late because I couldn't do a single ounce of work because whatever this thing was, or whoever it was, kept scaring my dog and scaring me, and I could not concentrate. So I stomped to the kitchen door, and I flung it open, and I stepped outside, probably not the brightest thing to do, onto the balcony and scanned the dark tree line. My dog came out with me, and he kept quiet. That's when I noticed something wrong by the shed. I looked, and you could make out the figure of a creature standing by the shed. The thing it is, the shed was on an incline, so to get to the other side, it was nearly impossible. I stared at the figure, trying to determine if it was my eyes playing tricks on me or not. But then Bear saw it too. He went absolutely bonkers. I've never heard him so alarmed. I kept looking at the figure, and I noticed how tall it was. It measured about to the roof of the shed, which was probably about 7 or 8 feet tall. I'm guesstimating. As I looked closer, I saw its face. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. From the shadows that you could tell where you could make out what it looked like. It had the body of a giant. You could tell that it was hairy. It looked like a hairy bear. But its head, it was shaped like a dog's muzzle. Its eyes glowed in the dark, and its sharp teeth seemed to be snarling. You could see the white around its mouth. They had to be huge. The light must have been reflecting off of them. But you could definitely tell this was not a human. It walked like a human, but it was larger, and it had a dog's head. Being a dumb 14-year-old kid, I yelled over the barking, "Hey, who are you? Can I help you?" And the creature just stood there. It looked like it maybe shifted its weight. I kept on wishing it would step into the light of the shed so I could see it clearly. But of course, if I were a creature, I wouldn't want to be caught in the light either. I got no answer back, so I just kept staring. I thought maybe that the yelling would stump it, or it would cause it to run off. It slinked behind the shed at nearly 90-degree incline to the light. I watched as it seemed to avoid the light and turned to look at me. I couldn't see any eyes or any real features, just a large shadow. But then its dog-like muzzle caught the light, and I saw its sharp teeth again gleaming. Then, just like it was part of the woods, it stepped off and disappeared into the shadows. Bear stopped barking and laid down, facing the direction of where the creature had been. I tried to get him inside, but he would not come in. He would not leave the balcony. I made sure the gate to the stairs was locked and went back inside. I was beyond confused. It hadn't been 15 seconds since I had heard it on the porch, yet there it was down at the shed, which was maybe a 10-minute walk, maybe a 3-minute run. Also, it was really, really steep, so taking it at a fast pace would have probably led to an accident. None of it made sense. I tried to think maybe it was just my imagination there. Wasn't anyone out there, right? Well, I always tell my friends that if you see and hear something, it's your mind playing tricks on you. But if your dog sees it too, run. I usually say that as a joke, but in this sense, it's true. When my dad got home at around 11 that night, I told him what was wrong. He went and checked out the shed with the flashlight, but he said he never saw anything. He did tell me, though, that the back porch door had been unlocked the whole time. That really bothered me. Maybe it was just a random dude in the woods, probably a bad person trying to rob us wearing a mask. But yet I didn't like how tall it was, how large it was, how it moved on the incline, and how its mouth would open and shut. It was too real. Call me crazy, but I believe I actually saw a Dogman that night, a werewolf or whatever you would call him. The thing was huge, but it moved like a cat. It had grace and balance. And I would be very, very afraid to meet this thing out in the woods. I'm sure, as large as it is, and as strong as it is, with the balance and charisma that it has, this thing would be very deadly if it wanted to take you out. I hope that by sharing my story, I can enlighten people and to let you know these things are out there. I was an unbeliever until that night. Thank you for sharing my story. You know, I know a lot of the viewers are probably going to ask the same question, but it makes you wonder, why did it not come in if the door was unlocked? Why was it jiggling it? We know they know how to open the door. I mean, surely they know how to turn the doorknob and open the door. So why did it not come in? What kept it from coming in? My guess would be it smelt your dog. And I believe these animals are so smart, so intelligent, that they're like any other animal. They know that if they get in a confrontation and they are injured, living in the woods, there is always a chance of infection. It could slow it down. It could get in another fight with another one. You know, it could be injured. It may not be able to fight as proficiently as it needs to survive. A lot of bad things can happen, so I think they take that into perspective, and it knew that if it would have came in that night, your dog would have fought it. Your dog may not have won, but your dog could have injured it and injured it severely. So I would say your dog saved your life. That would be what I would say. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you Saturday night at 8 p.m. for the Boots on the Ground, guys. It's going to be a good one. Sarah and I are excited to go there and spend some time with you guys. Maybe we'll get some more EVPs. We may go back to that same place and see if we can catch anything. But until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. Smash that like button for us. It means so much. I'd love to see this video go over 100 likes. And we'll see you all on the next one. Thanks, guys.